Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here once again with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, how are you doing today?
Bro, the smiles are back already.
They are.
It's good to see, man.
It's
Yeah, a lot better.
a lot better, and coincidentally, that is because Aston Villa managed to win their first Premier League game since January. Can you believe it, Dan? Was it New Year's Day against Burnley? Was that really the last win?
Wow, bro, that's crazy. That is crazy. It's
And
been way too long, hasn't it?
And it's a completely different Villa side to what we saw on that day as well. I mean, Wesley and Heaton
Hmm.
featured in that game, but here we are. We're after Crystal Palace, and we finally got vengeance on them for the Kevin Friend, Henry Lansbury incident. And 3 points of honesty never felt so sweet. And the tone of this podcast is naturally going to be drastically different to anything you guys have willingly endured listening to over the past week. So whilst we appreciate your support, you're going to hear a different tone because I don't know about you, Dan, but there's this little feeling inside that Villa could well make the great escape happen.
Yeah, bro, it would be the great escape. Like the greatest of all the great escapes. If we did pull this off, but no, mate. Like as I said in my preview, that um, realistically, like a win today would be great. But obviously the odds are very much on us still getting relegated. That sort of still looms, and it will take something absolutely crazy to draw us out. But I think what we as fans deserve, and I think what just the sort of club as a whole, I think we need to try and take it to that last game against West Ham. And we need to try and give ourselves that survival do or die clash, because I think it would be pretty hard to watch that game. A, knowing that we were already relegated, and B, knowing what it could have been. Because
Yeah,
I think Watford actually play West Ham next in what
yeah,
is
they do.
obviously a huge game for us. And so if West Ham go on to win that game and Watford was still in touching distance and we'd lost this game against Palace, then I think that would have been pretty tough to watch. And to be honest with you, mate, when we thought we were going 1-0 down after about 6 minutes, I was almost ready to turn it off, to be honest with you.
I mean, it was really difficult to watch that because Grealish needlessly gives away a foul on Wilfried Zaha, who's someone we'll definitely talk about during the podcast, and the incidents that have transpired. And two things that are inevitable in life are Villa poorly defending a set play, but also VAR getting a decision incredibly wrong. And that's exactly what happened, Dan. And watching it just unfold, I thought, Jesus Christ, how is Ezri Konsa's not even looking at the man or the ball? He just aimlessly jumps. Samagol is the same. He's not aware of Sacco behind him. And it seems that Jordan Ayew has actually brought down Pepe Reina in the build-up, which I think perhaps influenced the decision of the goal being disallowed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's every chance of that, mate. I think it's one of those where if you're a Villa fan like we are, we can probably look at these things and say, yeah, that's probably why. We'll give the guys in John Moss, funnily enough, in the VAR studio the benefit of the doubt. But it's one where if you're a Crystal Palace fan, they probably rightly feel a little bit aggrieved. It's one of those where, and again, I'm going to make a point similar to this a little later on when we discuss what happened to Jack early in the second half. We just need clarity. I think with VAR incidents, everyone's sort of likening it to the Tyrone incident at Leicester away, where he sort of dives down and it comes off pretty much the same part of the shoulder.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a penalty in one and it's disallowed goal in the other. And there really isn't any sort of clarity as to what is constituted a goal or not. And it's lucky that players like Mario Balotelli were playing pre-VAR, because I was thinking about that iconic goal he scores against Norwich where he shoulders it.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't get that nowadays.
No.
But no, it's one of those where I was very grateful, mate, because that was really it was such a soft goal. I think it's pretty lucky that it was disallowed, because I think Ezri Konsa would have had a fair few Villa fans after him after the game, because he does not do enough to get up there with Sacco. And so it was lucky and pretty fortuitous that it was ruled out. But I was just sort of worried because that wasn't showing the fight and the aggression that we need to stay in this division. But I got to give it to the lads, mate. I mean, after that incident, I saw nothing of the like. I thought everyone was well up for the game. I saw a bit of again, people weren't really happy with the lineup. And I actually just want to make a point that obviously Courtney went off before the game, really late on in the warm up by the sounds of things, and was replaced with Elmo on the right hand side. It's something that you and I have been calling for a long time, and I thought we were so much better off having him on the right wing.
Absolutely, and there were chances in the first half where it just helps having someone who, because I mean I think we've had the discussion many a time, and Villa fans have as well. Whenever Elmo makes a massive defensive calamity, people always say he's not a right back, he's a wing back. So having someone who can realistically play any side on the right, he's not a terrible right back, probably more suited to a back five in that wing back position, but as well, he can also play on the wing. Having someone who can just naturally attack, it just helps so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also as well, another rare shout out that I'm going to give on the podcast, it comes to Conor Hourihane, because having someone like him in the team just, I think, made Villa so much more mobile, and someone who possesses a goal threat and is decent from set plays. I think there are a few times where you see Hourihane's looking for Elmo for that reverse ball, and Elmo's more than comfortable coming forward, cutting inside, putting a cross in, which inevitably led to a goal. That, first of all, though, there was a great chance from an Elmo ball that was put on the plate for Jack Grealish. Really, it looked like he had a bit more time to deal with it, and unfortunately didn't make it past the near post. But signs like this, they were really encouraging, especially considering we technically went 1-0 down, for Villa to be able to go and create. And after seeing that, I was looking for more of a positive reaction from Villa, because we've had the chances like these against Liverpool and Man U early on, and it was more about Villa just maintaining that level of attacking threat and eventually trying to get the goal in the back of the net.
Yeah, for sure, mate. And Elmo was pivotal in that. He put that one sort of on a plate for Jack, and he also put in a really good ball for Ali Samata in the first half, which Ali put over the bar. He created more chances today than any other player on the pitch did. Elmo, I think he got 3. And as you're saying, I don't actually think because obviously as Villa we do a lot of time defending, and so Konsa at right back hasn't actually looked too bad, really, like in the scheme of things. Like, it hasn't been great, and I think we certainly saw against Newcastle that we benefited from having Elmo on the pitch, but Konsa wasn't, like, he hadn't done anything which I really felt you have to say, apart from perhaps in the Chelsea game where you're like, right, you dropped for the next game, and Elmo has, it's sort of been average performances. But obviously in a game like today where we were able to open up a little bit more, and probably onus, given that Palace had lost their last 4 coming into this game, the onus was on us to be the attacking side. I feel like Elmo on that right wing was just doing things that Ezri Konsa couldn't. He looked so much more comfortable out there, and no, he's the best crosser that we have in the squad. It's really as simple as that. And yeah, he just offered us something completely different. I thought Connor was definitely better in this game than we've seen for a little while. Obviously, I know we'll kind of talk about it in a second, but overall, I thought our set pieces were pretty poor today. We had a lot of chances. We had 5 corners. We were fouled 19 times, which is 19 free kicks we could have taken advantage of, and it was only really the one that ended up being Trezeguet's goal, and the one in the second half when he tried to beat Vincente Gaeta at his near post. That really caused any problems. But with the clock winding down, mate, in the first half, I was fairly sure that we were going to be seeing ourselves going to half time at 0-0, probably being the better side. When Connor puts one of those balls in, and he loves that back post, doesn't he, Trezeguet?
He does. All of his goals have come from that back post, funnily enough. Obviously, apart from the second goal that he scored. Took a bit of a helping hand from, I believe, Scott Dan, who maybe seemed to head it on to Trez, but hitting it on the first time volley, it's vintage Trez, isn't it, at this point? And it's good to see that after he's been getting a bit of stick for some of his performances, that he could silence the critics with his 2 goals. And I think Dean said in his interview that it was perhaps slightly against the run of play. I think Palace were coming back into the game a bit more in the latter stages of the first half. So it was really important, as you say, Palace, who are winless in 4, now 5, obviously, to make sure you get that goal early on, because Hodgson probably had some choice words to say at half time to his players, to get them motivated for the second half. But Trezeguet, I think overall, I think against Liverpool he had a impressive by his own standards defensive display. He was coming back. He was tackling, making interceptions, just trying to spring the counter attack generally. But it was really good to see him in the goals today, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, for sure, and that makes him our second top scorer in the Premier League this season. He's now put in 5 goals, and he's the only, he's one of 2 Villa players that have managed to score a brace this season. The other one being Wesley away to Norwich. And so, no, it was nice for him, and you could see how much it meant to him. Like, we've seen sort of, obviously, with no fans in the stadium, a lot of the celebrations have been pretty subdued. Not just from Villa, but across the Premier League. Like, players aren't really going as crazy as they once were. But no, Trezeguet's loving it, man, and it must have meant a lot to him because he hasn't really had the luck of the green. I think we've all been at points frustrated with his performances. But look, I mean, as Villa fans, we don't mind who scores the goals, and if he's got it in him to go in and deliver like that, then we got to try and have that in the next games that we have, because they're equally as important. But no, I was really happy for him, mate. It's his first since December last year, I think. So it's been a while since he's been in the goals. That's in the Premier League. That is, obviously he got the goal.
Yeah.
But no, a real story of redemption. And when we, it was nice when the second half started and we were again being positive, because this is what I was worried about, mate, was that we've seen so many times Villa go in half-time leading and Dean Smith just try and see out the second half and defend. And look, whilst Palace aren't the best team in the league at the moment, probably one of the worst in the form table, will tell you now. But if you give them the whole 45 minutes, they're going to put the pressure on you. So I thought we really had to carry on and try and push for the second one. And literally like 2 minutes into the half, obviously Jack goes down, and you sort of the contacts from Patrick Van Aanholt. And I'll be interested to get your thoughts on that, mate. It's a weird one, isn't it?
It is, and at the time, I think I was like, of course it's a penalty. You watch it in real time, but it's a bit embarrassing seeing how much Jack makes of it. And part of me, not that I'm justifying it, but when you have a decision like the Bruno Fernandes one, so fresh in your mind from Thursday night, players probably feel like that they have to make something of it, because there's a possibility that even if there isn't that much in it, which there clearly wasn't, that they could possibly beat VAR and deceive the referee and get the penalty, because I think we could do a whole podcast, and we did, about how poor that Bruno Fernandes decision was. But so in some respects, I kind of understand it. It's frustrating when you see players dive, especially someone like Jack Grealish, who, despite never diving, has such a reputation of going down. So that's never going to help things with how he's perceived by opposition fans. I've already seen so many memes of from Palace fans of people diving off boards into swimming pools and doing synchronized diving, saying it's Bruno and Grealish next season under Ole, which obviously isn't going to happen because Villa are clearly going to stay up and Grealish will stay. But things like that, it's you don't want to see it. And I think what to kind of back the referee, Van Aanholt is on the recovery. And he's coming in from behind, and he ends up sliding down. And he's clearly felt like there was contact. Looking at the VAR, it came from Grealish. It was minimal. I think what the most frustrating thing about that whole movement, Dan, is if Grealish stays on his feet, Villa have a very good chance of scoring there.
Yeah, look, I think it's one of those where, look, no, I think it would have been very, very light to give that decision. But the one thing I will say, and this was what I was getting lambasted by a few mates who don't support the Villa in a group chat, and I was saying, look, if you're going to give the Bruno incident, then you got it's an either or. Either that goal, that Jack's and the Bruno penalty aren't penalties, which is definitely the right thing to do, or both are. You can't have an either or. You know, they're actually very similar incidents, sort of where the attacker initiates contact with the defender. There is probably enough contact, regardless of who's sort of to warrant a penalty. But you VAR. The reason that I think people are being so frustrated with VAR is just because it's not consistent. Like, look, I'm all for like absolute rules, and I think it would be harsh. But you know, if you put in, like, you know, the handball rule, there's so much ambiguity, and no one knows what it is. There's a different rule for VAR handballs if it's following a goal than if it's not. And I think, you know, we're coming towards a point where we're going to have to see absolute handball rules, like, regardless of how it is, whether it's intentional, whether it's right by your side, whatever happens, if a ball strikes a player's arm in the box, it's a penalty. And that's you know, these are the things. Whilst that's harsh, it clears everything up. But with these sorts of things, is that fans just get frustrated with VAR because there's no consistency between the decisions, and that's what frustrated me. Is that there's no way it's a penalty on Jack. I did think it was at first glance. Martin Atkinson did too. Very similar incident again, in which John Moss blew instantly on Thursday night, and Martin Atkinson blew straight away today. We all thought it was a penalty, I'm assuming. And we watched the replays, and it's not. So it's similar. But yeah, no, look, Jack does make a lot of it. He dives. But that's a player, and I'm not condoning it, but that's just desperation. That's just Jack doing it, like, you know, whatever he can to keep Villa in the Premier League. That's just him, you know, trying to get us a spot kick, because, you know, we were in a very good situation, as you say, but you know, it still takes someone from the current Blues to stick it in the back of the net, and I think a spot kick kind of is usually pretty reliable from 12 yards. And that's why he goes down there. And yeah, it was probably rightly overturned. But as you said, you know, when we'd seen the Bruno incident on Thursday night, it's a little bit annoying that you know, that again, considering it was the same referee in the VAR studio, that we didn't see the same outcome. But no, look, it you know, on isolating this incident, then VAR obviously did a favour for us in the first half, and I don't think we can feel too aggrieved on that one.
No, I think as well, as you said, the frustration comes from John Moss being in Stockley Park on VAR, and then obviously him being at the helm of the Bruno decision. What's frustrating about that whole movement as well is, I don't know about you, Dan, but I think we're probably taking it back to Burnley away, the last time you actually see Villa, you know, possess such a threat like that, just going forward. You know, kind of picking up the ball in the midfield and actually driving through the middle, and essentially forcing the Palace players to commit to either bring you down or to back off. It's not a situation that Villa often find themselves in. So when I was watching it unfold, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, Villa are the best fucking counter-attacking team I've ever seen. But obviously, you know, it wasn't meant to be. There was also another penalty shout. You know, when you're talking about it hitting the arm, I believe Matt Targett crossed the ball, and it hit Scott Dan's arm, which I was certain was going to be a penalty. His arms were by his side, but I feel like that there was enough movement sort of out to maybe warrant the penalty. But I mean, at this point, we were already 2-0 up, weren't we, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, that's what I mean. I thought that was a penalty as well. There's also an incident I want to reference where Milivojevic fouls Jack Grealish and appeared to try and stamp on him in the second half as well. And he doesn't actually stamp on Jack. He sort of stamps in between his legs. But, you know, if I'm being critical, mate, it's a yellow card for the foul. And that's probably in isolated incident, a yellow card offence. You know, he got booked for the original foul, but nothing for that alleged stamp. And the VAR needs to look at that. And look, Dean Smith doesn't say a lot in press conferences that I agree with, but he said something today which really stuck with me. And he said obviously the bar for overturning referee's decision with VAR is clear and obvious error.
Yeah.
And you know, if that's how high it is, and we've seen how high it is at points this season, was the call on Jack a clear and obvious error? I think it's very ambiguous. You know, I think, you know, if you have to watch something 15 times as they did, it took absolutely ages.
Yeah,
it's not clear and obvious. You know, I think this is one of the things that needs to be looked at. You know, if you keep analysing things and watching every single possible angle, you're eventually going to find, you know, we've all seen how misleading. I'm not saying it was in this case, but if you have to watch something that many times and find the right angle and cycle through all these different options, it's probably not a clear and obvious error. And so that needs to be clear up. And no, I did think it was Scott Dann, and I thought Milivojevic. Obviously, there was a red card at the end, which is crazy, which we'll talk about when we get to that. But no, it was a strange one, really. But no, look, the Villa boys, I wanted to talk about them because they were just great today. And you're right. I think it was a good performance from Jack today. I thought he did a lot that we liked. That's probably the best that we've seen him play. There was this one run he did in the second half where he picks the ball up on the left wing and just drove a sort of left to right in the pitch. And nothing came of it in the end. But I was like, I think that's the first time I've seen Jack carry the ball like that, a good 30, 40 yards in months. It has been that long. And so, yeah, it was good to see him do that. Douglas Luiz again had a good game. We had 9 shots on target today, mate, which is crazy considering we managed just the one on Thursday night against Man United. We've scored as many league goals in that 14-minute spell between the first half and the second half as we have it in our last 8 games. And
it's crazy.
We look so much better for it. And no, look, this is, it wasn't a perfect performance, but it was so much better. And for the second goal, a ball comes in. It's a bit of a hopeful one from McGinn. It's headed away by the Palace defence, and we recycle the ball so quickly. And this is something that really has frustrated me at Villa points this season. Is how laborious and slow we are to recycle the ball and come again at teams. But the header straight back in from, I think it's Connor actually. Connor gets up and heads it forward, and it goes through to Trezeguet. And look, neither goal are going to be some of the hardest that he's scored in his career. But there's going to have been a lot of pressure on Trezeguet when he sees those chances fall to him. Given that he hasn't had the best time recently, he's going to be under a lot of he's been under a lot of scrutiny, and he's going to feel a big weight on his shoulders when he sees that ball slip through to him. But he did a pretty nice job of tucking it away, mate.
Yeah, it was good to see, as we kind of touched on before. It's another type of goal that Villa don't really tend to score of. A lot of the goals end up coming from set pieces because we're not that great from scoring in open play. So to see a forward manage to find space between the 2 centre halves and manage to tuck it away one-on-one with the goalkeeper it's just what you really enjoy seeing. I think Samagol was actually offside. I was worried when I was watching this that Trez may have been caught as well, but manages to hold his run off well, gets in between both Sacco and Dan, and it was a great finish, and a goal worthy of 40,000 fans sat at Villa Park celebrating. I think it's a real shame to miss a game like that. But on the whole, Dan, I think Villa thoroughly dominated, and they looked so convincing, and I feel like we've actually managed to action everything that we've criticised in the podcast lately. We've taken our chances. We've managed to stay on top and even keep a clean sheet, which is absolutely massive as well. I think Ezri Konsa looked so much better in his natural position. And unfortunately, Neil Taylor came off, looked like he had a knock, but Matt Targett looked good when he came on. I thought he'd have a bit of a tougher task with Jordan Ayew and Wolf Zaha kind of interchanging on the wings, but it was everything you could have asked for from Villa, given the position we're in. We said it was a must-win game. We've got the points. Now what's important is that Villa actually replicate this going forward, because we've got 3 games left. It could even be 9 points that we need. I think 6 may do it. And seeing how poor Everton and Arsenal were today certainly gives me hope, Dan.
Yeah, bro. Like it's crazy how I and both you and I sort of resided ourselves to relegation. But especially considering how the results went yesterday, both Watford and West Ham winning, I was kind of looking at this like, man, there's no way. We're 7 points adrift. There's only 4 games to go, and today we just absolutely had to win. And there's a few moments this season, and when the heat is on, and the Villa have sort of really dug deep, and that's what we did today. And I was just so happy to see it. And mate, it's the first Villa game I've enjoyed watching in God knows how long. Genuinely, got probably since that
Yeah,
first half against Burnley, that I've genuinely just thoroughly enjoyed watching. Um,
yeah,
and no, look, bro, it came to it when Target, who I thought again came on, slid that ball across right towards the end of the game, and both Trezeguet and Keenan Davis missed the ball, and I was like, right, okay, that's
yeah.
good. There's the Villa I know and love. There's the real Trezeguet.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, only playing Trez. We've all seen what happened when you rile up Trezeguet's faithful on Twitter, mate, haven't we?
I know, yeah.
But
I
now,
run Egyptian Twitter now.
yeah, you do, you do. But no, it was really good, mate. And yeah, mate, look, we've got these games now where Everton are really blow hot and cold, and you never know what you're going to get from them. Especially at home this season, they've been plagued by inconsistency. Arsenal are the same. It was hard to. I couldn't believe it, mate. I was watching the North London derby, and before the game they showed the table, and the North London derby, Arsenal against Spurs was 8th against 10th in the table.
It's
That's
crazy.
mental. Like Burnley are
Yeah.
ahead of the two, and all I'm going to say is, if we had Burnley next game, we'd all be looking at it and going, yeah, right, here's a definite chance to pick up points, and they're way above both Arsenal and Everton. So look, both of those sides don't look too great at the back. It's nice that we've got Arsenal at home, and look, these are two games where look we could go and get absolutely bounced by both sides. But even if we took a couple of points or won one and lost the other, as long as we can get to that game against West Ham with our season in the balance, I think given how it was looking literally yesterday, I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
No, it is, yeah, and it's just I think this kind of performance, I don't know. I'm just getting vibes of when Sunderland managed to escape the drop late on, and it's as I've said before, it's everything we could have asked for in this performance, and I think it will give the lads so much confidence and really give. I think Dean's job now is very simple: is play the 11 who played today next, in our next game, and replicate that performance, because I don't think there's anyone who can come in and who possibly deserves a start. I think everyone put in such a good shift, and I think that midfield area is going to be very important in the next game against Everton. You've got great players like Gylfi Sigurdsson, Tom Davies. So you're gonna want your Douglas Luiz, who has again just been wonderful, an absolute joy to watch. To do what he's been doing. Conor Hourihane again had a great game, and McGinn, I think we should touch on as well. Looked like he was not back to his best, but certainly much better than his performance against Manchester United. So there's plenty of things to look forward to before this Everton game, Dan, and I think that's probably a good place to end the podcast. Being as it's getting on, and we've got to try and get this one out. Shout out to Charlotte for hooking us up with the edit for today. And I think before we end this as well, we should obviously mention the absolutely disgusting incident that's happened today involving a Villa fan and Wilfried Zaha, with some horrible abusive messages and incredibly racist remarks. It's absolutely horrible, and certain Villa fans say, "Oh, well, he's not a Villa fan," and I think that I saw a tweet from James Rushton which summed it up perfectly. Which we can't just excuse it by saying, "Oh, well, he's not a proper fan." This is happening still, and it's extremely disappointing when the Black Lives Matter movement has done so much positivity for the Black community recently, and I think it just shows that regardless of whether the movement maybe seems to have died down in some people's eyes because there's not as many protests or stuff, it's just important that people are educated on the matter, and so as we can eradicate instances like this. I believe the West Midlands Police have arrested a child in connection to this who is 12 years old, which makes it even more disgusting, Dan.
Yeah, bro, 12 years old, man. Look, you know, it's terrible, man. Like you've got to seriously look at, you know, and the right way to handle this incident is, and you know, this club has had its fair share of issues recently. You know, with the break and everything that's happened, it's very easy to forget what Marvelous Nakamba and the chant that he arrived to when he first came. You know,
Yeah,
that was still this season, and the club took a very different approach to that incident, and they didn't ban those, because it was like 15, 16-year-old kids. It was a very similar incident. They didn't ban them. You know, they didn't just, because the easy thing to do is just hand out a lifetime ban and all of this goes away. But the Villa, what they did is they got all those kids in, they got their parents in, and they educated them. I think Ian Taylor came in to speak to them, and
the
stuff like that.
Punjabi villains as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know, we had, and you know, now, because I think that's potentially the better way, because if you do just instantly hand out a lifetime ban to this 12-year-old, and whilst I'm not saying we should at all excuse what he did, but it angers him more and it frustrates him more, and it sort of promotes him, and it's like, you know, promotes that, you know, further angered him, and those outbursts of hatred potentially become more common. And so, no, I hope everyone handles this in the right way, because, you know, I think it's the household and the environment that this kid's having to grow up in.
yeah.
It is what's caused this, and I doubt he even is aware too much of the consequences or what he's saying, you know. And so we just got to take that household in and make sure, you know, because he's been taken into police custody, so I'm sure he'll be duly punished. But, you know, I think education and a sort of readmission in society, and that's how I think you sort of eradicate incidents like this. Isn't just handing out bans and pretending it all goes away, because those thoughts will still exist. But if we can sort of educate them and help them to see and realize just why what they're doing is so wrong, then that's definitely the best way to do it. And it's good the club has shown that they can do that this season.
Absolutely, and you know, I think I mentioned it before when we spoke about the Black Lives Matter movement. It's obviously no one wants to see these instances at all, but especially a club like Aston Villa, where, you know, we've got such a rich and diverse history of black players, Asian players, players from all walks of life, and more importantly, fans as well. You know, Villa has always been such a diverse club, and I think that something that we always pride ourselves on being. So, you know, it's great to see that Villa have taken an absolute, you know, no tolerance stance, and this issue can obviously get resolved, because it is horrible, and it almost tarnishes the day, really. You know, we should be celebrating 3 points for Villa, and thought of us possibly staying up, but unfortunately, you know, that's been tarnished by the foolish acts of this alleged 12-year-old, which is disappointing. But I think, you know, on that note, we should probably end the podcast here, Dan. It's been a pleasure talking to you, despite that. But, you know, obviously a Villa win is great, so our spirits are naturally lifted on this podcast. Hopefully we can be back again after the Everton game, which I believe on Thursday, Dan.
Thursday night, yeah.
You know, so hopefully we'll have a late night recording. And to those of you guys who are watching on YouTube, you've probably noticed you may not have seen our faces, specifically in the last podcast. I just reiterate the point, my laptop is being repaired at the moment. So hopefully by the time the Everton game, you will be able to see that me and Dan have actually had a haircut. And we're looking somewhat presentable, despite you guys not being able to see us. So if you enjoyed the podcast, and you're enjoying the content, you know, we really appreciate all the support we've been getting. If you'd like to hit the subscribe button and comment your thoughts below, we do enjoy reading all of your comments and your thoughts. Let us know what you thought of the game, how you think we'll do against Everton, and what kind of things you'd like to see. So yeah, if you're listening on Spotify as well, make sure you follow Anchor, Apple Podcasts, all them kind of things. Follow and let us know that you've been enjoying the podcast. So thank you guys very much, and up the Villa.